Let me ask you something. How many goals have you set in the past year? And how many of them are you still actively working on right now? If you're like most people, there's a gap between those two numbers. A big one. Here's the thing, it's not your fault. You don't lack discipline. You don't lack motivation. What you lack is a system. And today, I'm going to give you one. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through a 4-level framework that transforms how you approach any goal. Whether you want to write a book, get in shape, build a business, or master a new skill, this system works. Each level solves a specific failure point that destroys most goals. Remove one level, and the entire structure collapses. Keep all 4, and you build something that runs on autopilot, whether you feel motivated or not. Let's dive in. Level 1, Identity Statement. The first level is your foundation. It's called the identity statement, and it solves a problem you probably don't even realize you have: decision load. Think about it. Every single day, you wake up and face a series of micro-decisions. Should I work on my goal today? When should I work on it? How long should I spend? What exactly should I do? Each of those tiny decisions drains your mental energy. And here's the cruel irony. By the time you finish deciding, you have nothing left to actually execute. You've spent all your willpower on the decision itself instead of the action. An identity statement eliminates this problem entirely. Here's why it works. Your brain is hardwired to keep your behavior consistent with your self-image. When you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, your brain creates resistance against every productive habit you try to build. It's protecting your identity. But when you shift the identity first, everything changes. Your brain stops fighting against you and starts fighting for you. Now it's defending the new identity. So instead of framing your goal as an outcome you want to achieve, you frame it as an identity you already embody. The format is simple. I am the type of person who specific behavior. Not, I want to be fit. That's an outcome. Instead, I am the type of person who moves their body daily. Not, I'm trying to write a book. That's weak and temporary. Instead, I am the type of person who writes every day. Notice the difference? These statements aren't about results. They're about the behavior that creates results. To design your identity statement, ask yourself one question. Who is the type of person who achieves this goal naturally? That's your identity. Write it down. Make it specific. Make it present tense. Once you have this statement, it becomes an automatic filter for every decision. Would the type of person who writes every day skip today? The answer is immediate. No, you're not debating. You're not negotiating. Your identity decided for you before you even had to think about it. That's level 1. It eliminates decision fatigue and sets the foundation. Now let's make it operational. Level 2, if-then rules. Level 2 is where your system comes to life. It's called if-then rules, and it solves the second fatal flaw that kills most goals: willpower dependency. Most people operate like this. I'll work on my goal when I feel motivated. Or, I'll exercise when I have energy. Or, I'll write when inspiration strikes. Here's the brutal truth. Motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates. Your energy changes. Inspiration doesn't show up on command. If your system depends on you feeling a certain way, it's not a system. It's a gamble, and you'll lose. If-then rules remove feelings from the equation entirely. Here's the format. If trigger, then I will behavior for specific time. The trigger is something that already happens in your day. Something automatic. Something you don't have to remember or force. The behavior is the action that supports your identity. For example, if I finish my morning coffee, then I will write for 30 minutes. Or, if I close my laptop after work, then I will exercise for 20 minutes. See what's happening here? You're not waiting to feel motivated. You're attaching your goal behavior to a reliable trigger that happens whether you're motivated or not. To design your if-then rule, look at your typical day. What do you already do every single day without fail? Eating breakfast, brushing your teeth, commuting home, finishing lunch. Pick one of those as your trigger. Then attach your identity behavior to it with a specific duration. Be precise. Don't say, I'll work on it after lunch. Say, if I finish lunch, then I will walk for 10 minutes. Vague rules collapse under pressure. Specific rules hold. Researchers call this approach implementation intentions, and a meta-analysis of over 90 studies found that it doubles adherence rates. Why? Because it designs the decision out of the system. That's level 2. It takes your identity and makes it operational. You're not adding willpower to your system, you're designing willpower out of it. But there's a third level that most people skip. And skipping it is exactly why they quit during the hardest part. Level 3. Invisible wins tracking. Level 3 solves the third problem that kills goals, the motivation gap. Here's the challenge. Real results take time. There's always a gap between starting the work and seeing evidence that it's working. When you start exercising, you don't see muscle definition the next day. When you start writing, you don't have a finished book in a week. When you start building a business, revenue doesn't appear overnight. This is the invisible phase, and most people quit during it. Not because the system is broken, but because their brain isn't getting the feedback it needs to stay engaged. Your brain runs on a simple loop: action, reward, repeat. When you're in the invisible phase, the big rewards haven't arrived yet. No reward means no repeat. That's why you need to design a feedback mechanism into your system, something that gives your brain evidence of progress before visible results appear. That's what invisible wins tracking does. Instead of tracking outcomes, you track behaviors. Instead of asking, did I lose weight? You ask, did I work out today? Instead of, did I finish the book? You ask, did I write today? Here's how to design yours. Pick one simple metric: days completed. This measures showing up, not arriving. Just count how many days you followed your if-then rule. Mark an X on a calendar. Keep a tally in a notebook. Use a habit tracker app. You can also track how hard it felt. Rate each session from 1 to 10. Watch that number drop over time as the behavior becomes automatic. Or track your mood after the activity. Did you feel better after doing it? Yes or no? Any of these works. Pick one and decide where you'll record it. It doesn't matter what tool you use. What matters is that you track it daily. Every check mark tells your brain, we're making progress. Even when the scale hasn't moved. Even when the manuscript isn't finished. Even when the business hasn't launched. Your invisible wins keep the motivation loop alive until the visible wins arrive. That's level 3. But even with identity, triggers, and tracking in place, there's one more failure point. The day you break the chain. And that's what level 4 protects you from. Level 4. Never go to zero. Level 4 solves the fourth problem that kills goals: system collapse. Even the most beautifully designed system encounters something unavoidable: life itself. You get sick. Your kid has an emergency. You have to travel unexpectedly. Your routine gets disrupted, and you miss a day. This is where most systems die. One missed day becomes 2. 2 becomes a week. And suddenly, the whole architecture crumbles. Not because the system was bad, but because there was no failsafe built in. Never go to zero is your failsafe. Here's how it works. When you design your system, you also design a minimum viable action. The smallest possible version of your behavior that still counts as showing up. If your full behavior is a 45-minute workout, your minimum is 10 push-ups. If your full behavior is writing for 30 minutes, your minimum is 1 sentence. Something, anything, just not zero. Here's why this matters so much. Going to zero breaks the identity. Zero tells your brain, we're not that type of person anymore. But 10 push-ups? That keeps the identity intact. 1 sentence? That maintains the chain. To design your minimum, take your if-then behavior and ask, what's the absolute smallest version of this that still counts? Write it down alongside your main rule. That way, when the hard day comes, and it will come, you don't have to think. You don't negotiate with yourself about whether today counts. You just do the minimum. Mark the win. Keep the system alive. The goal of your system isn't perfection. It's continuity. Never go to zero is how you design continuity into the architecture. That's level 4. Bringing it all together. Now let me show you what this looks like when it all comes together. Let's say your goal is to write a book. Here's your complete system. Level 1, identity statement. I am the type of person who writes every day. Level 2, if-then rule. If I finish my morning coffee, then I will write for 30 minutes. Level 3, invisible wins tracking. Mark an X on a physical calendar for days completed. Level 4, minimum. Write 1 sentence. That's it. The entire architecture fits on 1 index card. You wake up. You finish your coffee. The trigger fires. You write. You mark the X. The system runs. On good days, you write for 30 minutes. On hard days, you write 1 sentence. Either way, the identity stays intact. The chain continues. This isn't motivation dependent. This isn't willpower dependent. This is architecture. And the beautiful thing? This framework works for any goal. Fitness, business, learning, creation, relationships. The structure stays the same. Only the content changes. So here's what I want you to do right now. Pick one goal. Just one. Define your identity. Design your if-then rule. Choose your tracking method. Set your minimum. Write it all down. Then start tomorrow. Goals don't fail because they're too ambitious. They fail because the system supporting them is too fragile. If this helped, like the video, share it forward, subscribe for frameworks that make goals unstoppable in 2026.